We are only one day away from the PAX presentation on Borderlands 3, and that is super exciting, and we're going to get to that, but bear with me for a moment because we're going to start with Borderlands 2. So I'm a massive fan of the Borderlands games and have played a respectable amount of hours of each of them, with the exception of the pre-sequel, which I could never really get into. Maybe I'll give it another go one day, but yeah, it just didn't do it for me. Borderlands 2 is, in my view, a perfect game. Great combat, an insane amount of looting and grinding, which is a good thing. Unlimited replayability, it just hits every point for longevity. The base game holds up, and I think it always will. Now that, of course, is not going to stop people from modding the game to enhance the experience, and I knew that the Borderlands community was dedicated, but I had no idea how dedicated it actually was up until last week. I was made aware of a fairly new mod called Borderlands 2 Reborn. There was a video that showed up in my recommended box on YouTube, and I'll link that below, and that video detailed the changes this mod includes, and I was completely blown away. And even more so when I actually started playing the mod. So Borderlands 2 Reborn is a massive overhaul to the experience while maintaining the original framework of the game. So the story and campaign is intact, but every other system is improved heavily. So it's way too much to cover in this short video, but I'll detail some of the bigger and more noticeable changes. So there's a bunch of new guns, including some from Borderlands 1 and the pre-sequel. A lot of them have new skins to make them look a lot cooler than they originally did. There's also just an overall higher chance of finding better loot in the game. And some bosses in the game now have guaranteed drops that are different from what they originally are, or just adding new guaranteed drops. Flint, for example, he's one of the early game bosses. Normally would drop a gun called Flint's Tinderbox, and now in this case will drop the Clipper, which is a gun from Borderlands 1. I also noticed that the game is a lot more liberal with dishing out money. I was finding it everywhere. Each playable character has new skill trees, and a lot of these new skills are really cool, and it's actually one of the things I like the most about this mod. The golden chest that you find in Sanctuary now takes iridium instead of keys, and probably one of the biggest changes of the mod is that it uses the scaling system of the pre-sequel. So those are just some of the highlights, but again, this is a huge mod. There's different skins, there's a ton of just quality of life changes. It's one of the most in-depth mods I've ever played for any game. So having played about 8 hours of the Borderlands 2 Reborn mod, I can say that it does absolutely feel like a fresh experience. It is something I would recommend to anyone who's a fan of the series, and especially a fan of Borderlands 2. But do keep in mind that this is PC only, and you will need to join the Nexus mod community to install the mod. It's really easy to do that, and it's really easy to install the mod as well. Really simple. Okay, now on to Borderlands 3. Today, Gearbox debuted a teaser trailer to generate some hype for their PAX presentation tomorrow. The teaser doesn't give away too much information. Tomorrow is when we will hopefully get a ton of more info regarding the game's setting and characters, and given that it is an hour long, there's a good chance we'll see some gameplay and maybe even get a release date. And in trying to reconcile my expectations for a new Borderlands, I noticed that I was mostly basing that off of how to improve Borderlands 2, which is ironic considering I'm now playing this Reborn mod, which is as improved as you can get almost. And you know, I love the core of Borderlands gameplay, and I don't think it needs to be changed that much. It would be cool if there was a looser system of leveling up, like maybe you could start with a specific class or design your own. I'd also really like to see some new biomes and environments explored. We've already had the frozen wastes and decaying deserts. How about a cyber jungle or an underwater kingdom? Just spitballing, but it would be nice to visit some previously untouched territories. Story I am less concerned about. The gameplay is the focus in Borderlands, and that's where I hope they spent the bulk of their development. They could really do anything they want with the story and I'd be fine. Just no more Handsome Jack, please. That's all I ask. So after tomorrow's presentation, I likely will put up a reaction video and will absolutely be keeping up with the game's release on the channel. Thanks for checking this video out. Let me know what you hope to see in Borderlands 3 down in the comments.